Today I will show you how to play Catan with just a deck of regular poker cards or playing cards. Playing cards are the most versatile piece of gaming equipment, but what if you're stuck with just a deck of cards and you want to play a real board game like Catan? That works, and I will show you how. There are 4 types of resources. Diamonds, this will be stone. Clubs, this looks like a grain, so this is grain. This looks like a tree, so it's wood. And heart, this is livestock, so sheep. This is the playing board. There are no hex tiles, but rectangulars. But you have all the country tiles with all of the resources. And you have one of the jokers, which will be the desert. And like in the real game, each of the country tiles also have a different value according to their number. So we will start with the 1 or the ace. Those are the least valuable country tiles. In the real game of Catan, those would be maybe the 12. Then you have the 2s. Those are a bit more valuable. In the real Catan, those would be maybe the country tiles with a 10, a 9, a 4, and a 5. And the most valuable are the 3s. In the real Catan, those would be the country tiles that have a 6 or an 8. But how does that work? It works with the dice. And the dice in this game, this is just another deck of cards with the remaining 1, 2, 3s. And as you can see in this deck of cards, the 3s are the most prevalent, so it's the most likely that they will be drawn. Then 2 and ace are a bit less prevalent. And this joker here, this is one of the other jokers from your poker deck. This will be the 7 in the real game, or the thief. But how do I throw this dice? To throw the dice, I will just draw a random card from this deck. And then every country tile with this number will get a resource. So every village or city that is adjacent to a 2 will get one of the resources marked on the card. So here it will be a wood, here it will be a grain, here it will be a sheep. I will explain you later on how these villages will come into place. When you draw an ace, this is the least valuable card. I explained that to you. So how does this work? Well, I just flip this card like a coin, and only if it lands face up, then the country tiles will actually produce resources. If it lands face down, there will be no resources this turn. If the dice rolls a thief, then this will be just like in the real game. The player who rolled the thief can take the remaining 3rd joker card and place it on any of the country tiles. Then he can draw a card, a resource card from the player who has a village on this country tile. And also for the next time that this country tile is rolled, it will not produce any resources. In order to have more fairness in the game, then the thief is removed. It will not stay there forever like in the original Catan game. And how do I obtain these resources once they are rolled and I'm entitled to one of them? Well, for that we will just use the remaining cards as tokens like in the regular game for these resources. So imagine that I will obtain this round a grain and a stone. Then I will just pick from the bank a stone and a grain, which will be in my hand and which I can trade like in the original game. Of course, there can be a little problem if there are not enough resource cards in the game, as we don't have an unlimited amount of cards. So let's imagine now I will be entitled to another stone, but there's no stone left in the pile. Well, for that, I will just go to my hand where I have already a stone, and I will place it like that, face down, and this will count as 2 stones. Once I use one of those stones, I put it back in my hand and I have only 1 stone left. But how do I set up the board and the dice in a way that they are balanced? I will explain you how to do this. First, you will start with the threes. Here we have all 4 threes. You mix them and then randomly you draw 2 of them. And those 2 will be the ones that go to the dice. So the others will go to the field. Now we have to make sure that the 2s and the aces who go into the dice are not the same resources, so that the resources on the fields are well mixed. So now we pick our aces and our 2s. And we look at the colors who are already in the dice, so sheep and stone in this case. So then the ace that goes into the dice should be of a different resource. So I will pick grain. And then the 2 that will go into the dice, this will be the remaining resource. So clubs. And of course, we will also add a joker. And now we have our dice fully set up. But we also have all the cards to set up our board. And that's how we were gonna do it. There, we also add another joker. And then we mix these cards randomly. And now we place them face down like that to have our square. Then we turn them over and we have our finished randomly created field. Now you must wonder, how do I actually play? How do I use these resources to build villages and cities and also to buy development cards? This is how it works. There are 2 players only, red and black. But if you have 2 decks, then you can play with 4 players. Then there will be a hearts player, a diamonds player, a spades player, and a clubs player. And then you will also have enough cards to double this field in size. Then it will be much closer to the original size of the Catan field. However, we will now play with only 1 deck, so only 2 players. Each player will get the deck of kings, queens, and jacks from his color. And very easy, the kings are the cities, the queens and jacks are the villages. But how do I build them? In order to build a village, I just place it here, overlapping on 2 of the resource tiles. And I can do that vertically and horizontally, but not diagonally. That's not possible. And then this village will be adjacent to these 2 country tiles, and it will get resources from these 2 country tiles. If I build a city, I just replace the village with this king, which is a city, and then I will get double the amount of resources for each of the 2 country tiles, like in the original game. And if I want to build a new village, then it must be connected to the original existing villages, which I already have, like in the real game. So I can only build a village starting from a tile who is already connected to one of my existing villages. So here I could, for example, build a new village here, here, or here. It is also possible to build a port, which will be built like this. Then the village will only be connected to one country tile, but on the other end, it will be connected to the sea. And that will mean I can trade this resource more easily. Normally, you will be always able to trade 3 of the same resource for 1 random resource that as you like. And if you have a port built, then this will be reduced to 2 resources. As you have noted, there are no streets in this game. The streets are the villages themselves. So you will see later on, the price of the street will be included in the price of the village. It is also possible to build the longest street, like in the original game. And for that, you must have at least 4 villages or cities connected in one line. And that will give you only one additional victory point. Yes. If another player has done a longer chain, he will obtain this victory point, like in the original game. And also the game setup is very similar to the original game. It starts with one player placing a village somewhere he likes to, maybe close to a 3. That's very valuable landscape country tile. Then the second player, he can place 2 villages. And of course, he is not constrained to connecting them. Like in the real game, he can place them anywhere. And then at last, the first player can play his second village. And then, as a starting hand, each of the players will get the resources which are connected to the last village they have placed, like the original game. So the red player will start with a stone and a wood, and the black player will start with a wood and also a stone. What are the prices? The prices are very similar to the real game. So cities will cost you 3 stone and 2 grain. What about the village? The village will cost 1 sheep, 1 grain, 1 wood. But I already mentioned you also have to build a street, which is included in the price of the village. So you have to always buy them as a package. So then this will be another sheep and wood. So in total, the village will be these 5 resources. Also, as regards the victory points, it's like in the real game. Every village is worth 1 victory point, and every city is worth 2 victory points. Of course, you have to replace the village when you build a city, so in the end you will only gain 1 additional victory point when you build a city. Then, of course, the city will bring in double the amount of resources. So let's test this out. Let's roll a dice and see what happens. This is, as I explained, the deck for the dice. And let's draw a random card. Let's say it will be a 3. So what happens? All the country tiles that have a 3 on them will obtain a resource. And we can see the red player here, he's connected to this 3 with a village. So he will get 1 wood. The black player, he is connected with a city to this country tile. So this will be double. So, sorry, this was grain, of course. He will get 2 wood. That's what happens when you roll the dice with your villages and your cities. But now you wonder, what about the development cards? Those also exist in this game, but there will be only one type of development card, which will be the knights. No other cards in the pile. And in order to buy the knight, the price is 1 grain and 1 sheep for 1 knight. For example, with this hand, I could buy 2 knights. But how do I get these knights? For that, we just pick 2 random cards, wherever you want them from, and you place them face down like this in front of you. And now everybody knows you have 2 knights. But what do you do to use those knights? To use a knight, you just tap it like that, like in Magic the Gathering. And now this knight is used. What happens? It's like rolling the thief. So let's say the thief is on this land of yours. You can move it somewhere else. You can draw a random resource from the person you have put the thief to, and the thief is gone for you. And let's imagine you have already 3 knights tapped. Then you will win this so-called biggest force of knights or biggest knight, that will be also worth 1 additional victory point. If the other player then has 1 more knight than you, he will win the victory point. So that's the basics of the game. What is the winning condition? It is 7 victory points for this 2-player version. If you play the 2-deck version for 4 players, then it will be the regular 12 points, like in the real original Catan. I hope this helps you. I hope this brings you joy, and let me know if this works for you. And also, please let me know if there are any improvements you can think of, any ways to tweak the rules a bit to make it even better. This is just a prototype. So yeah, I'm very curious about your opinions. Please leave a comment.